for whatever reason, whatever judgment they had of me, I don't think they want us as expats there.
If you're coming here as an individual, trust me, you're going to be treated like an individual and nobody will care if you leave. 2020 was a rough year for the entire world because why? COVID-19 was in effect. Many people lost their jobs, many folks lost their lives, many folks lost their marriages, and the whole supply chain across the world was being disrupted. But there was some hope, and it was hope for people to make a change in their life since everything was going to hell. So what did some people decide that they should do? Well, they figured this is the right time to move to another country in the world, the country of your dreams. And for people who had the Pan-African spirit, that's what they wanted to do. So folks said, let's fly all the way to Ghana. Let's stop the show. Didn't happen. Ghana was closed. Some of us was like, well, let's go to Uganda. Uganda was closed. Let's go to Gambia. Gambia was closed. There was a president in Africa that wasn't going for it, and he was letting anybody who wanted to come through. President Magufuli of Tanzania. So a lot of people went to Tanzania searching for a new life during that time. But then I started to notice something. Those people started leaving the country. And there are 3 ladies in particular who have the similar story about why they left. All 3 of these women are African Americans, and all 3 of these women appear to be single moms. Some have moved to another country in Africa, and one has moved away back to the States. And the first lady that I want to talk about is called Journey With Me. She made a video clip which is now going viral on the Black Americans Are Forced to Leave Africa's video by Indigire. And here's how the clip starts.
The number one reason why I left Tanzania is because I was getting scammed numerous times. Was I scammed? I left Tanzania and I've been back in the US for almost 2 months. And for me, it was the best decision that I could have ever made for my future and for my son's future. I was on Facebook and I saw that someone posted a picture of them holding up 500 T-shillings. It seemed like they were trying to say that's how much you would have to pay. You would only have to pay 500 T-shillings to fill up your car, which is, I think they said, less than 50 cents. The situation for me this time was a visa issue. And I'll go into that in another video. I just feel like it's so much to tell and I need to give the details of that. However, that situation was rectified for me, but at the last minute after I decided that I was leaving to go home.
But then we find out more about her. Why did she really leave Tanzania?
I was introduced to this guy, a lawyer, and this guy was someone that the people that introduced me to, who I became very close with, still close with to this day. I love them dearly. Shout out to y'all if y'all watching this, which they probably are not because they're not really into the YouTube thing. But this guy was, right away he presented himself professional. He went to get the information. He did advise that he didn't know too much about the visa process or anything, but he would get the information. And the individuals that introduced me to him, they felt that, okay, if he's a lawyer, he's capable of finding out the information and such, right? So this guy charged me up front. I'm going to give you guys the totals that I remember. I had to pay like $12.50, I believe, for myself and my son's visa. And his fee was $250. So right away, that was what, $1,500, right? So then once you get your control numbers, you pay for that, and then that's the situation. So my process took about 4 months for a 2-year student visa for myself, and then my son would be added to my student visa, or so I was told.
Let's just sum it up. She had a visa issue. She got scammed. So she decided that her son and her should move forward, and they left. She's even made a response video to it, and now she's flourishing doing well back in the United States. But then there's a second lady called Lala's Journey, and she also has a child. She's left Tanzania, now living in Ghana, but she's going to give a few reasons why she had to leave.
The first thing that I didn't like is the immigration process. When I went to Tanzania, I already imprinted it in my brain that you're allowed to, from the research that I've done, that you're allowed to have 3 months there and then get extensions, which is a 30-day extension. It's supposed to be 2 30-day extensions for free. But once I got to the immigration, they had us wait there for 5 hours after telling us they could give us that time period, and we only got 2 weeks. After waiting 5 hours, we got a 2-week extension. So I had to maneuver myself from there, and it was just not pretty for me. I left the immigration office like literally in tears, because I was just like, it's just this, I pick up on vibrations and energy, and it just like, the immigration people just felt like they don't want me here. You know, for whatever reason, whatever judgment they had of me, I don't think they want us as expats there. You know, and that's just the honest truth, you guys. Like, they were laughing at me while I was crying. Like, it was just not fun. And maybe it was just the immigration officers that I dealt with, but it was just like, okay.
Now, the second reason is going to be interesting. She felt that she could not be herself. Let's check it out.
Number 2 is the culture. I just couldn't vibe with the culture. I felt judged 50% of the time, you know, and I just couldn't be myself. And that's just the bottom line. Like, whatever they believe in and whatever they thought of me is not even the problem. The problem is I could just never be myself. I work out a lot. I wear a lot of compression outfits. I wear, you know, things that to a very, very modest person, you just, even at my most modest, you just like gonna, you know, give me these looks if you're a judgmental type of person. So I felt judged half of the time, and I didn't like that.
So this is very interesting, and I think that for a lot of ladies who are looking to come, especially to Tanzania, Uganda is a little different, Kenya is more open. But if you're coming to Tanzania, and I've heard this, women who dress contemporary is gonna look bad in certain aspects. So there's societal norms that are there. People are supposed to act a certain way. That's even here in Uganda. And if you come out there trying to act the way that you want to act, I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna go down that well, right? And that's for men and women. There are certain ways and certain things that people are supposed to, you know, behave. Even for somebody like me, I'm very straightforward, right? I'm very brutally, honestly straightforward, especially in business. And even though I'm right about my straightforwardness, it's looked at as being very rude. I'm supposed to be more humble about things, even if it's fake humble. Fake humbleness in a lot of the business sector in East Africa is really appreciated. In some aspects, even more appreciated than actually doing what you're saying you're gonna do. So what's happened is I had to give up a lot of the decision making with collaborating with business opportunities because I'm just so brutally honest, which comes off to being offensive. I had to pretty much give that part up of the business up because I was offending people for telling the truth. But that's pretty much how it is. You're not gonna be able to be yourself here completely, and that is something that you're going to have to understand. If you want to really be yourself fully, you're going to have to go to another country, or you're going to have to stay in the States. There is going to be some level of you giving up who you are to operate in this society. Just like an African would have to give up who they are a little bit to be in Dubai or be in the States. They're going to have to transform to their environment, and you're going to have to do that here. But this last person left Tanzania for similar reasons and that, but here is something that they're also complaining about too.
The visa process, getting the multi-entry visa, it's useless if you don't go all the way back home. And who has money to keep traveling all the way back home to the United States every 90 days? That's ridiculous. Even if it's every 4 months, because you can get an extension. Absolutely not. The second thing is, okay, let's just say you don't mind doing that, or you just want to go to Kenya and stay there longer than a couple of days. You got to stay there for like a week or two for them to think that you're exploring. you know, and you come back. Okay, so let's just say you're okay with doing that. Then you'll have to get a business and then apply for residency, because you cannot apply for residency without a business. That's the crazy thing.
Now that YouTuber is called Becoming Tila. Check her out. She's now living in Zambia with her 2 children. And she also didn't like the fact that, you know, the land laws were different. It wasn't a whole lot of opportunities for her there. At certain points, I believe that, you know, she came to Africa looking for maybe even a romantic interest, and that didn't happen. But here's what I'm seeing along the lines for these 3 ladies. First of all, they come to the continent unmarried. I'm not trying to say that this is a bad thing at all, right? I do understand that, you know, women are doing many great things being independent, but it can be more difficult when you don't have a man there. And what I've noticed is that women who come to Africa, most importantly East Africa, tend to be taken advantage of more, and in certain cases, not always, looked down upon in certain cases, or people want to become more predatory towards them because they feel like they don't have any protection and anybody can just walk over you. So what happens is when they know that the man is not there, things can be more difficult, right? So if I'm a man, I'm a husband, and I said I'm supposed to do something for you, I might be fearful that your husband is going to come and attack me or confront me. But if I don't feel like, you know, that's going to happen for you, then if I were to scam you, what are you really going to do about it in my country, right? And I have noticed that a lot of women that come from America and they come here and they don't have a man in their community, they have a much harder life in East Africa. I don't know about West Africa, but I know they have a tougher life. And also, it tends to be harder for them to do business and also date. So that is something that you really need to understand. If you're a woman moving here and you don't have, you know, a man in your life from your community, I know people here that are married and they come here, they typically do a lot better in Africa than somebody who does not, right? But also, they're talking about some of the same things that I've been talking about. One lady even said, listen, they even laughed at her while she was in the immigration office. They thought it was funny. They didn't care.
For whatever reason, whatever judgment they had of me, I don't think they want us as expats there. You know, and that's just the honest truth, you guys. Like, they were laughing at me while I was crying. Like, it was just not funny. Maybe it was just the immigration officers that I dealt with, but it was just like, okay.
Here's something else that we got to talk about. A lot of us as African Americans, because we're individuals, we're not looked at as a group that's doing very well here. So when you're not looked at as a group, then people tend to not to take you so serious. That's one thing that happens. So basically you are here, but you don't represent a power move to us. So if we were to do something to you, or if we are to take advantage of you, then there is nothing that you can really do about it. So you can't punish us. And this is one thing that the diaspora and people need to try to understand. And this is no way to offend anybody here. We need to have a certain level of power in Africa to protect ourselves. That's everybody. That's Caribbean people, like British, African Americans, Ugandan Americans, people like that, right? In order for you to get a level of transparency, you need to have the ability to enforce upon those who don't do the right thing. And that means you have to come in and be investors that can make a change so that you can sway people based on your good efforts and your work. Otherwise, you're going to have a tough time in a lot of African countries because you don't have the resources and you don't have the pull. So when people don't have that, they tend to leave, go to another country that they feel is better. But most people are not going to care that you are here. They're not going to open up their network to you. You're going to have to fight for everything that you get. And I don't think that people don't understand that you're going to lose a lot of money. I've lost over $7,000 in a transaction before here. I've never talked about it, but that person felt like that I could not punish them, right? That's what they thought. They felt like I could not punish that individual. But had I been a Chinese person or had I been somebody else that had infrastructure, that would have been different. So you need to come here and seek a level of power, a level of influence as a community. It's the only way that you can get anything done. If you're coming here as an individual, trust me, you're going to be treated like an individual and nobody will care if you leave. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shady Jackson, back at it again with another episode of Fair Use. I'm out.